Coaches, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you if you stuck around and you were hanging out for our little roundtable that we just had, that larger roundtable, I guess I should say, in the state of the region for our Southeast region. Coach Jacobi, I want to say really sincerely thank you for number one being open to being a part of this and being on the roundtable, but also for extending this time a little bit and being willing to not only talk to a group of coaches, but now talk to me and answer, some of the coaches or some of the questions of our peers that are still tuned in. So I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you hanging out this late at night.
Well, like I said before, John, it's an honor, and I appreciate just the opportunity to share.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start how we usually rock these off is I'll start with my own questions. And then once I get through a few, I'll go to the chat and see what others are asking and see what they want to hear. If there's a question in there that kind of relates to one of the questions I asked, get those in. And I will say at that, as I start these questions, tuned in, please let us know. Don't hesitate to use that chat and please fire away with some questions that you have for Coach Jacobi. First off, Coach, I like to keep this as informal as possible. So I like to just kind of get this rolling, and I want to allow you the floor to kind of just tell a little bit about yourself, a little bit about where you've been, a little bit about what makes your clock tick, and you've been at Strong Rock, and I'll let you explain a little bit more about the school when we get going. But just tell me about yourself and where you've been.
I'm in the middle of my third year. I'm getting some feedback on this. Is that normal?
What's that? Are you hearing an echo?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't have anything that's relaying your voice.
Okay, not a big deal. I'm in the middle of my third year at Strong Rock. Prior to that, I was at the college level for 15 years. East Carolina, Charleston Southern, Kent State, Western Carolina, Elon University, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and then Cumberland University, where I played at. So I've had a very interesting journey, I guess is to say, literally all around the country, a lot of different places. But to be honest with you, I truly enjoy coming to work every day, working with the high school athlete. It's definitely a different dynamic than at the college level. It's a different your issues, some are the same, some are different. Everybody has unique things to their situation. I kind of enjoy trying to figure out how to overcome those issues. And it's still a learning process. That's the thing that I really, truly enjoy is learning. I definitely wasn't like that when I was in school, but, training is something that I'm just really passionate about. And, it's something that I truly enjoy learning about. And so when I have issues, I like figuring out the solutions as best possible. And that's kind of what this move really to the high school level has been for me, is really a learning experience on my profession. So, I'm very blessed to be where I'm at and just couldn't be happier.
Excellent. I appreciate that, Coach. I really like you can see the excitement in your eyes from where you've been, but also where you're at now. And we've had so many conversations about what goes on at the high school level and what really gets us going and what gets us motivated to work with our athletes. And you're a person that I feed off that, and I also feed off knowledge that you've been willing to share. So with that, I'd like to get in on some of that knowledge and give you the opportunity to share that with some coaches that are tuned in as well. If you will, let's talk a little bit about Strong Rock. Tell me, just go down some of the demographics of the typical students that you'll see.
Strong Rock is a K through 12 school we are at. I actually talked to our registrar today. I usually bug her because I always want the bigger and better kid to get in. But we're right at about 877 students total K through 12. We are actually the second biggest by land mass private school in the state of Georgia. We have 138 acres. It's not all developed yet, so we're still in the process of growing. A very young school, 10 years old. We celebrate our 10th year anniversary this year. So it's a very unique situation. Athletically, we are getting better, is a nice way to put it. We've made strides, but you're never as good as you want to be usually. So it's still a process. But we are a decently affluent school. There's no secret there. So it's a learning process how to figure out what makes these kids tick a lot of times, because I grew up a military brat, played college football. I'm a meathead, so it doesn't always how I think is not how a lot of these kids think. So developing and cultivating those relationships that you have to have is something that I constantly work on. To talk about what our typical kid walking in the door, that varies. The crazy part about it is I've got some kids who have never touched a weight before, who honestly just, are limited athletically. And then I've got one or two that, are special athletes. So it really runs the gamut as far as that goes. I wish I had a couple more special athletes, but I'm sure we all do. It's really a lot of ends of the spectrum with that, with our kids, which has kind of led into the reasoning behind of how we train. I'm a very big believer in giving the kid what they need at the time that they need it. So there's a significant amount of individualization with a lot of our programming based off of, the kid's training history, based off of their strength capabilities, based off their chronological age. So it's a pretty in-depth and detailed program as far as what we do with our athletes. But I think it's the best way we can attack what we have as far as our kids. Kind of stealing something from Gary Schofield. He talked about what makes them different. GAC, what they're, why they're special, and that's what we're trying to create here, is being able to give a kid what they need at the physiological time that they need it at, that adaptation, that stimulus, whatever that is for that time, we're able to address it.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Coach. Can you go into, you don't have to go into great detail, but maybe just a quick elevator type speech of your programming, or maybe what you developed in your time, that it sounds like you developed as a young coach at the college level, your development and programming there, and then maybe what the shift was, if there was one,
Right.
when you moved to the high school level.
Well, with honestly, my kind of programming ideas and methods came from it's crazy how it worked out. A very simple conversation with Victor Ishmael, who's actually an assistant down by you at University of Miami. Big Ish and I were together at University of North Carolina, and he probably doesn't even remember this conversation, honestly, because it was just in passing. I was young in the business, and I just wanted to learn. So I absorbed as many things as I could. And I was asking him about some of the Soviet Union type training models and the different methodologies. And he kind of mentioned how he would run a high school program. And I don't even know why we came up with this conversation. This is just two colleagues talking. And actually, I was just a slappy GA and he was a full-time. So, I was an underling. I knew my role, so I'm okay with that. But he just talked about how he would have a 9th grade program, a 10th grade program, an 11th grade program, a 12th grade program. So I kind of marinated on that for a while. And as my journey progressed, I got to Western Carolina, and we had some really strong kids. We had an unbelievable coaching staff, football-wise, that brought us really good players. And as the kids were going through their careers, I started, your program typically would change a little bit here and there. And by about my 4th year, I said, I've got to do something, because I've got a a crazy strong group of kids going into their junior off season in their program. And so I started studying. Actually, Travis probably doesn't even remember this, came down and we visited, and I opened up our programming. And that's the time that I went to a leveled type of training where we had level 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I utilized that and had unbelievable results from it. I'm talking, the hardest thing for a strong person to do is get stronger, because your jumps are going to be minimal. Well, when we implemented this, our strong guys got insanely strong. Our younger guys got stronger. So I kind of figured I had something there. When I came to the I implemented these throughout my coaching career at the different stops. Then when I came to the high school level, and honestly, after a legitimate year of teaching from a technical aspect, that's when I started implementing the different training levels. And basically all it is different models of periodization. Whether you want to use a linear, quote unquote, a true linear, which if you talk to Brian Mann, everything's linear in general, which it is. I mean, that's reality. But just using different methods. If it's a young kid, he needs a lot more higher rep work. He needs a lot more hypertrophy, things along those lines. So that's what they're going to get. So quote unquote true linear periodization. We have our second tier, our level program, which is more of what I kind of steal from Ethan Reeves and his climbing method, which I always thought was really, really neat when he used it at Wake Forest. Then I really like the three-week mini cycle idea. I stole that from Coach Connors, and I think he got that from Bill Gillespie, the idea of the 3-week mini cycles. And then our last level would be our max effort type stuff. And so I've implemented that system, but then honestly, this year I kind of took it another level and categorized sports. Like I said before, I'm a military brat. So basically, in the way it makes sense to me is I have my infantry guys, which are my football guys, my wrestlers, my throwers. They've got a certain program, and there's 4 different levels within that program. Then I've got my cavalry guys, which may be my contact sports, but it's not a collision sport. So my basketballs, my my position players in baseball, my soccer kids, things along those lines. Those athletes will be our cavalry kids. And then I have our artillery, where that's going to be our pitchers. That'll be our golfers, our tennis kids, our cross country kids who honestly don't have to learn how to absorb weight as much, but still need to train. So I could have at one time in our weight room 13 different workouts going on at one time. But if you organize it right, and I think that's where one of my spiritual gifts is organization. If you organize it right, it actually flows. One thing that we do, everybody bench presses, everybody squats, and everybody power cleans. I'm a big believer in those 3 movements. But then after that, it's all dictated by their sport and their training level. And we have numbers and norms as far as, if you're a freshman and your percentage of body weight on the bench, squat, and clean is this, so on and so forth. You can move up a level. You can move down a level. Again, it's meeting the kid where they're at. Is something I think you have to do for us, because we don't have 6'4", 275 pounds walking in the door. And so we've got to really figure out the best way to help develop that. So, that's kind of how I've been trying to address it here. And the thing is, we've gotten a lot stronger. We're not where we need to be. But we've made strides, significant strides. And 2, honestly, we are healthier probably than we've ever been. I have never been around a place that has had more casts, more carts that you kneel on to roll on, more boots. I've never been around a place like I tell the people all the time, I'm going back to school to get a medical degree and opening up a business in Strong Rock because I'll make millions. So we've, it's taken a while, but we've had significant improvement in our injury, our injury rates, which is something, hopefully has shown the kids hard work and commitment to our program.
Excellent. While we're talking about why you discussed your tier zones, Coach Gio had a question of what are some tools that you use or for beginner athletes, like your very beginner athletes. I presume he could be asking, maybe someone that you see from week one or maybe in year one.
Well, I have a unique situation at Strong Rock. Being a K through 12, I teach the 7th and 8th grade classes. So I'm able to take them through training protocol with those classes. I have an advantage there. Also, I'm in the process. I've got our plan put together for next year for our 5th and 6th grade kids, where 2 days a week we will be doing some athletic enhancement exercises, to help be beneficial, basically. So when they get to me, they're not totally thrown for a loop. But how we'll handle the first time, say I get a kid who walks in the door during the summer and he's a high school football player. Well, what I have is what's called, I remember talking to Joe Ken back in 2004, and I don't even know if he had termed it block zero yet. Just talking about the different ideas and different levels, because again, Coach Ken's one of the guys that really I kind of stole this from and have run with it since. But Pat Ivy's another one too, who's kind of, even though they don't know, have helped me along this journey. But our base program is just our technical progression program. The load is totally insignificant. All that is cared about when they're doing our program is through technical mastery of the exercise. And the way I've organized it and designed our programming is they can do it right next to a kid who's a senior in our, we call it our beast program, who's doing max effort box squat with chain. Again, it's just about the organization and being able to have them there. So we have it typically takes them about an 8-week program from a technical aspect, if they can complete it, to then they'll kind of get in the normal routine of training. And then again, at the end of the semester, we'll test, get numbers from there, and then that'll dictate what program that they move into.
Gotcha. Awesome. Is there, from that standpoint, it goes right into my next question, at least closely. Do you monitor movement and that pushes your progression along? Is that something that throughout a student's career is something that you're looking at, maybe an assessment, or is it something that is more kind of visually with that?
Our first week when I get our kids, it's really a wash, unfortunately, because there's some things that we have to do. We have a drop add period here. So that's something I still am not a huge fan of. So there are going to be kids that start that semester with me that won't finish. So basically, I kind of take the whole first week as a wash. I'm not really going to get much accomplished. So what I'll do that whole first week is I'll do movement screening. And I've done the TPI stuff. I haven't done the FMS. But basically, I've gone through and kind of created my own screen. I have my own scoring system. Just honestly, over a long time of experience, seeing what I've seen, taking from other tests. We do 5 simple tests. We do the overhead squat. We do the single leg hip bridge, just like in the TPI stuff. The seated torso rotation, so you can see thoracic spine mobility. I want to see, actually it's 6 tests. I apologize. We're going to do sit-ups for a minute. We're going to do pull-ups, and then we're going to do a Turkish get-up. And then I have a scoring system for every single one of those. And basically what I get is I'll get the number, just like the FMS. I'll get the number and I'll be able to say, okay, what do I have issue with? Where's the red flags? What are the, where are we looking at as far as predisposition to injury? Again, like I said before, strong rock is, is a walking injury a lot of times. It is the history of us. So doing something like that really for us is imperative. What we will do is basically one day a week at some point in time, we will get our corrective exercises in. But that I'm still kind of trying to work through that to figure out where that best fits. But we will do an assessment. We'll do it at the beginning of the semester, the end of the semester, end of the fall semester, and then we'll do it again at the end of the spring semester.
Appreciate that, Coach. And I wanted to, just as you were saying that, I wanted to plug Micah's talk.
Oh yeah,
Nashville. I thought that was unbelievable, and I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. I thought if you're looking for what to use, if you are using, and whether you're using a numeric or a quantitative value or not, if you're looking at movement and you're classifying certain athletes as specific need athletes and looking for how to fit them in, and fit those exercises, those correctives, or those just those movements that you're looking at. If you're looking for a way to fit those in, I would check in with Micah Kurtz, and I know you know that, Coach. That's for everybody. And I thought that was phenomenal. That really was an eye opener for me in finding ways to really apply specific and get specific with our athletes as individuals on what they can work on. From and Gary's going to be upset with us for using the word corrective, but in that, and just in that way for the sake of this conversation, for those correctives. So I apologize for taking your time from the platform. I just
totally agree. I totally agree.
Coach Gio had a question on the back end of his question that I missed, and it still goes along with what we're talking about. Are there specific training goals that you set for your 5th and 6th or 7th and 8th graders that maybe, in having them, you said you have them in a class?
I have the 7th and 8th graders. I'm still working through the 5th and 6th grade kids, and really it's logistics as far as I'm not going to be able to be with them because I have my other classes during those times. So it's really the logistics and the coach education for the coaches that are over those classes. Now, with our 7th grade kids, my whole deal with them is technique. Weight is totally inconsequential to me with them. By the time our kids are finished with our first year, our 7th grade program, our strength training one, I want them to be able to hang clean, front squat, and bench press. That's it. But I want it to be technically perfect. That's what I aim for. Because I think from those movements, I can build pretty much everything else. By the time my kids are done with the 8th grade program, all I want them to do is to be able to bench press again. That's pretty easy. But power clean and then box squat. I'm a big box squat guy. That kind of goes back to my powerlifting background. Plus the fact that I like box squatting low. So because one of the things I absolutely hated when I was coaching was telling a kid to get lower. I don't have to worry about that anymore because we'll put our boxes at about an inch below parallel, and then that's what we'll squat to. It will limit the load, but it teaches technique, and it reinforces pushing the hips back, getting, innervating fully the glutes and the hamstrings, because again, that's why we do it. That's the purpose for it. So, that's kind of my rationale behind that.
Awesome. Coach George Lynch was wondering when we were talking about power cleans. I think sorry, I'm reading through it. He's asking sort of if, in the context of thinking of what he's asking is it appropriate to value a power clean based on what the load is ultimately? He's suggesting that the movement is made to be quick. So is it compromising to have concern with load? And in this instance, he suggested specifically 300 pounds. Is it smarter to look at, when you're looking at a power clean, are you looking for bar speed, or are you looking for the load that can be lifted? Hopefully, I guess I could have just said that from the start, but
everybody the meathead in me wants the guy to clean 300 pounds. But to me, if you're going to perform a movement efficiently and technically sound, it's going to be fast. To me, the technical application of the exercise is more important than the load. And that's why I beat my kids over the head about technique, because if you don't have that, you're limiting yourself so much in what you can accomplish. If your technique is sound, the only thing that is limiting you is your nutrition and your God-given gifts, and that's it. So
excellent.
For me, it's more of a technical question. Yes, obviously with a power clean, you won't, if you do it correctly, you're going to have bar speed. But the load to me really is inconsequential if the technical application is bad.
Awesome. And I know you probably can't see this chat, but Coach Lynch said he agrees. And I certainly do too. It's something that drives us, especially in this level, in that we're oftentimes the first line of defense or offense that can teach movements. It's important for most of us to have consideration of that. Do you have, and it sounds like you have a lot of athletes that you see. Do you have any assistants on campus, or do you have an internship program or anything of that nature?
It's funny you asked that. I am cultivating and developing one of our softball coach to work with our women's program. So that's netted positive results so far. We're continuing that. She is actually a member of the NHSSCA, so I talked to her. I got her to do that. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to get her to come to the convention. So I have that working for me right now. Another reason why I chuckled was because I had an intern start today. So I do have an internship program. Again, being a Christian school, there are some extra hoops, I guess, you have to jump through, but it's a situation where we have a school not too far down the road. Gary Schofield gets guys from all the time at Georgia College. I had an intern this past summer from there who did an unbelievable job. Mike Martino does a great job with his kids and getting them in internships and real world experience, and he does a great job preparing them. So I've got a young man who is already graduated. I guess it's called an internship, but they don't call them apprenticeships anymore, so I don't know what you call them. So he's actually working at a private facility, but wants to learn and see the intricacies of a high school and to see what goes on. And so we talked, and I said, if this is something you're serious about, let's do it. And he actually started today. So,
awesome.
The more help to me, the better.
Cool. Excellent. And was there along those lines, sorry, is there potential for you ever having an assistant or having somebody? I understand that the softball coach might become that assistant, but potentially now would that be creating a position, or would that be sort of just and I don't want to get into too specifics, but I know that this is a question that many coaches have. Is it something that, are you creating a stipend that's going to kind of help her out a little bit, or is it going to be something that, like what does that look like?
Well, at Strong Rock, all our coaches have to coach two things. I'm kind of unique where I just I'm not coaching football anymore. So I do the after school stuff now. Fall and spring is the plan. So those are going to be my quote unquote two sports. Our softball coach will basically help out with the during our summer program. So that'll kind of be her two sports. So she will get a stipend from that. Our plan, we're actually in the process of raising money to redo our facility. And with that, we are also going to take what is right now a storage room in the stadium and take our older equipment, polish it up, make it look nice. And we're going to create a girls' weight room in there as well. And that's where our softball coach would be. So that way it would open up, because one of the big problems we have with our girls is just times they can get in the weight room. We have a very rigorous academic schedule. And I've had parents flat out look me in the eye and say, I pay X amount of money for my kid to go to school here. They're not going to school to lift weights. They're going to go to class. They're going to go to a real class. I get that. I respect that. But we do have a lot of males and females that both want to be in our class. It's just for the females, we don't have as many times as we would like to be as flexible. So once we have the weight room renovation completed, we'll have another facility, and that's where she would be. Again, with our plans, we have, I'm in the football field house. That weight room would be actually under the football stadium for the girls. And then we are building our, should be our final, what we call academy. It's our middle school. But will end up being our high school and middle school for a while, because we're all in one building right now. But in that facility will be another weight room. So my plan is to make that our middle school weight room. So we will actually have 3 facilities on campus, and then also be able to facilitate any time for our high school kids. So it's ideally we will have coaches in those positions. Again, it's about growth, and it's not going to happen overnight, but there is a plan for growth. And I've had great conversations with our CEO. He's really pushing the weight room renovation. I absolutely bug the ever living fool out of that guy every week. When I was in Nashville, he made a comment at our weekly meetings, because he was giving the state of the school address. He's like, "Where's Toby?" Oh, he's out of town. Good. He bugs me all the time about this project, so that's why I'm talking about it first. So I use the old idea about the Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne kept sending letters to the state senate before they sent him books, and finally they gave in. Then he kept sending 2. That's going to kind of be mindset. I'm gonna wear him down. But once we get that renovation, we get the other buildings built, we'll have multiple facilities on campus to facilitate our kids' needs, and obviously we'll need coaches to facilitate, to run those facilities.
Good stuff. Appreciate that, Coach. While we're on the topic, I know we got off it a little bit, but speaking of internships and career, Coach Lynch again was wondering. He's looking to do baseball specifically. He wants to ask you, or is he pigeonholing himself, wanting to specialize in one sport?
Baseball has a lot of very unique opportunities for entry-level guys. That is one thing that is very, very unique with baseball. I've had a very, very close friend of mine. He's basically a brother. Just took a position with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he was one of those guys that out of college got one of those smaller minor league jobs. That it didn't pay much, but you got a room and all that. It is tough. Reality of strength and conditioning in general, and you talk to anybody who's been in the profession for a while, it's dictated and dominated by football. And I know that. I think we all would agree there. But stranger things have happened. I think I had a graduate assistant who worked for me at Kent State. He's now a head strength coach at I think it's Cleveland State. He'll be mad at me if I apologize, Tim Bilbrey. He did a minor league baseball deal, and then went in, became our graduate assistant at Kent, and then went on to Eastern Michigan, and then kept back at Kent State, and now he's at I think it's Cleveland State. I apologize if I get that wrong. But he was an unbelievable coach and did a great job, but he had that lower level minor league stuff on his resume. So from an entry level standpoint, it's great. You just got to be willing to jump through those hoops, because it's not going to be very much money. It's going to be unbelievably hard work, and there's a reason those jobs pop open every year, is because not a lot of people want them.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Nick Ficker wants to know, in training younger and in the instance of your 5th grade and middle school athletes, how do you develop buy-in from parents and younger athletes?
Oh, buy-in from parents and younger athletes. That is the parent question has got to be probably the most interesting one at the high school level, at least where I'm at. And so the buy-in, I'm very blessed where I have a very, I guess, big personality where I command and control my classroom in a certain way where they have nowhere to run. So you have no choice but to buy into what we're doing. And I'm very blessed where a lot of our parents, not all of them, because I've had those conversations, emails, and meetings, but a lot of our parents want their kids pushed, want their kids, driven. And so the support has been tremendous. The bottom line is, and I know it's cliche, but the kids don't, they don't want to know much. What is it? They don't care about what you know. It's about if they know you care. And I think, honestly, the biggest thing I've seen that makes the impact is consistency. It's being there every day, and I hope nobody from Strong Rock's watching this, but I still am amazed how many teachers, miss days in school. It boggles my mind. The only days I will not be at work, I promise you, is going to be those days I was in Nashville. That's it, and I don't know why that is. That boggles my mind. Coach Connors used to say he would always wonder what the world would be like if we operated with a strength coach's mentality in normal life, because it would be different. He used to always say that all the time, and I think he's right, is we're not built like normal people. Normal people don't think like we do. Honestly, we're nuts. You really have to be nuts to do this, because it's not about the money. Do I make a good living? I make a great living for my family. Do I make the most money I've ever made? Probably. I really don't know because I don't look at the checkbook. I just listen to my wife and tell what she tells me. But it doesn't matter. All I care about is I got a roof over my head. I got 2 happy little girls, and I get to go lift weights in the morning before school. And then I get to coach all day. It's awesome.
Agreed, Coach. I agree. Andrew Picardo has a question. Again, it's related to those middle schoolers, or really the progression from middle school to high school. And how do you progress the clean? And you haven't mentioned the snatch. I'm not sure if that's a movement that y'all utilize in the weight room. And do you begin with the middle schoolers?
I do start with the 7th graders because, again, I'm still working through the 5th and 6th grade. They don't. We're just not going to have the realistic opportunity to get them in the weight room right now, just because of the way the schedule works out. The 7th graders do. We start off with body position. Again, this is really stealing from Coach Ken and a lot of his talks. If you can ever get the Hammer Strength DVD from when Joe Ken spoke down at FIU, I think is what it was. Unbelievable. Unreal. I got a copy of those from a friend of mine who used to work at Hammer Strength. He said, "Hey, give me a quote and I'll send you some DVDs." I said, "All right, brother, you got one." And I mean, those were awesome. And it really was Coach Ken going through his whole block zero. So we start off with teaching body position. Then I teach the clean a little different. I'm a part whole teacher. Again, I did take a couple education classes in college and learn some different teaching methods. And so that's the one we'll utilize. So we'll start with partial range of motion movements and work our way to the floor. Again, using PVC pipe is not a problem. I think how I've progressed our kids is based off of my observations of their technical efficiency. I have a plan set out and laid out for all 18 weeks of the semester. However, it can always change because we may stay an extra week on clean pulls because they're not getting it. We may stay an extra 2 weeks on hang high pulls. If anybody wants, you can email me. I don't know if you can put my email up. I have no problem. I will share whatever. But email me at the Jacobi at strong-rock.com. And I'll share all of it. I have no problem. but we do, with our 7th graders, do start teaching. You know, we start with the PVC pipe, and we rep it. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do with the younger kid, the younger the athlete, what I've seen, the more control over them you have to have. Because they'll start thinking, you know, I always picture it, my little daughter playing soccer, and she's looking at, you know, the ball's right in front of her, and she's looking down at the flowers, you know, trying to pick them. That's kind of how, you know, our kids are. So dictating the room and the flow of training, to me, especially with younger kids, is very important. My older kids, I give them a little bit more leeway, but not much, as far as the tempo of training. But yes, we start off with the clean. Again, my whole idea is by the time that they're finished their 7th grade year, that they can hang clean with great technique. Even if it's just the bar, I don't care. Okay? Because I've got some girls who are stronger than guys. I got some little guys in there. I'm not concerned about that. But I just want to see you do it with great technique. As time goes on, load will come. I do utilize snatches. Again, I have a progression for that. I only utilize the snatch with the bar with my beast program. That's my elite level, what I call term elite. I don't know if you really term elite, but that'd be our best lifters. And we will snatch with the bar some. You know, again, stealing from Gary Schofield, the dumbbell snatch, I think is a great tool. I've utilized it a lot of places. We'll do that more with our high schooler kids. But again, it's still part of our progression, you know, as far as the training methods go.
Excellent. Appreciate that, Coach. Coach Gio wants to know, do you incorporate speed, agility, and quickness into your school day?
Yes. I am really lucky where I get my kids 5 days a week. But I never get them the same time every day, and I never get them for the same amount of time every day. So I've had to become an unbelievable master of figuring out what's important and getting in what we can get in. So I'm very lucky. Basically, our middle school program right now, actually, I'll give you the fall. During the fall, my 7th graders, we lifted 2 days a week. We did core work, injury prevention work, 1 day a week. We did speed work 1 day a week. And then we did, I love Turkish get-ups. So basically I alternated between Turkish get-ups and games for them. So, you know, Gary's whole deal was that, I can't remember the guy who told Gary to program in fun. It escapes his name. I listen to his podcast all the time. Athlete by Design. There we go. Jeremy Boone. You know, Jeremy said, where do you program in fun? So we program in fun for our kids there. So that's our 7th grade program. Our 8th graders, they lift 3 days a week. We'll do speed and agility 1 day a week. We'll do core work. Turkish, we'll implement core work, injury prevention stuff in there. And then maybe on a speed day, or, you know, depending on how the weather works, I'll take them outside for games. Our high school kids right now, we lift 4 days a week. We just have such a screwy schedule with when we're in school, what days are half days. It would really go, it would drive a normal person insane. But like I said, I'm crazy, so it's okay for me. But basically, we'll lift Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday we will do, weather permitting, we'll do speed work.
Cool. Coach, I'm going to close out the questions. Thank you, everybody that's been participating through the questions. I think this is certainly, since we've moved our platform over to YouTube Live, I think this has been the most active from participants. I think that's number one, a testament to all the coaches that are on board, but also Coach Jacobi. I think it's a testament to what coaches think about you and what they want to learn from you. I want to close out with a couple of my questions that I like to ask just about everybody when I see them, but I think it's important for these roundtables is, number one, I want to hear, we started by talking about yourself. I also want to end just talking about yourself personally. I want to hear the vision for yourself over the next 5-10 years. And along with that, I want you to also share what your vision for this level is, or what you foresee happening with the high school level of strength and conditioning moving forward in the next decade, next 2 decades, whatever it may be.
The next 5-10 years, that's funny because that's changed, throughout my career. And I'll be real honest with you. I hope to be sitting in the same situation I am currently in 10 years. And the reason being is, I spoke a little bit about this, I think, at the coaches conference at one of our roundtables in Nashville. And, I've been that guy who chased the logo on the chest. I've been that guy. I totally admit it. I've moved my family all across the country, or up and down the country. And, I've done all that stuff. To me, God gives you certain things in your life. And I know for me, the 2 most important things are my little girls. And when we made the move back here to Strong Rock, my oldest daughter was struggling in school at the time, and come to find out she had some learning disabilities, and no single one too severe, but you couple all of hers together, it was pretty rough. And so I made the decision to, take this opportunity because it was the best thing for her. And I'll be real honest with you, there's not an amount of money anybody could pay me to see my daughter's face light up when she's doing well in school like she is now. So honestly, I hope I'm here. God willing, I don't mess this up. I'm lucky where my father lives 20 minutes one way, my mother-in-law lives 20 minutes the other way. We don't have to go anywhere for Christmas. I don't have to drive to a bowl game, spend a day with drive back to Georgia, spend literally 36 hours with my family for Christmas, and then drive back somewhere because I got basketball practice. I don't have to do that anymore. I don't miss that. I never will. So, like I said, to me, I am absolutely ecstatic to be here where I'm at and hope to be for a very, very, very long time. Where I see our profession, I think with what's going on, with, the creation of the NHSSCA, I think it's, exploding. But I think we all as professionals have to be poignant, and I think we have to be intentional about the next step for what we all know we need. And what we need is, honestly, we need to get strength coaches in every school. And we have to make that a point, because the reality of the situation is, I know for me, coaching football like I had for 3 years, I couldn't do it. I couldn't put the time into strength and conditioning like I needed to and like I wanted to, because that's my passion. I love training. I like football, but I love training. So I think really what we have to do as an association, as a brotherhood, as professionals, is really get more qualified coaches into those high school settings, and honestly, really start in middle schools if at all possible, because that's where we're going to be able to get a hold of kids and help develop them, so by the time, so they don't have problems, because for years at the college level, I'd see kids coming in, you got bad hip flexibility, you're going to have, you're going to be tight in the ankles, I know this, and this. And when you get that one rare kid, you'd be excited that didn't have problems. My passion and goal now is to take all those problems and not make them exist, and so now is it going to happen? Probably not, but I'm going to try. But I think where our profession is, and I think we need to, with, the National High School Strength Coaches Association being formed, I think it's going to grow. And I think the importance of what we're doing is is absolutely imperative, because the reality of our culture is we're not going to stop playing sports. We're not going to, everybody's upset about sports specialization. That's, and I'm a big fan of multi-sport athletes. But what sometimes I think we don't look at as professionals is that's also an opportunity for us. That's an opportunity where we know if Johnny's going to throw a baseball 400 times during the summer and he's 9 years old, and then half of those are going to be curveballs, okay, Johnny's going to probably tear his arm up. Well, let's do our, if they're going to spend that kind of time and money, mommy and daddy are going to do that. A lot of times they're also going to have that ding, ding, ding. We got to get them stronger. So now professionals can hopefully work in that realm. I've got at Strong Rock, we have one of the private baseball deals that runs out of our facilities there. And I've been trying to get a hold of, maybe working with some of their teams. I've got one of our coaches, football coaches, has a private training deal where he trains running backs. Well, you know what? I want to get a hold of some of those kids and get Strong Rock in front of them. And so I'm working with him and doing some things there. But what we have to do as professionals is we have to be able to articulate, and we have to be able to educate people on our importance. And I think with our association growing as it is, it's all it is an opportunity for more and more people to get involved. And hopefully we can grow this thing to be where, hey, I would love it if they had legislation where you have to have a certified strength coach in high school. And that would be awesome. Obviously that's a long way off, but that's something that we can push for, and something that I think we should push for, because all it's going to do is A, create more jobs for professionals, and B, help the kids.